really good crew that you have out there, and a really awesome dynamic, I think, that is maturing in the Midwestern region right there with the staffers that you have. So
It's so awesome, and you've mentioned to me, Sam, that you're doing a good job as a field coordinator. And I say to Sam all the time, it's really not me, it's the people. It's the
same, yeah,
people that make the group.
exactly.
And we're fortunate enough in the Midwest to have a group of people that share the same vision, that have the same passion, and really have the same personalities. We're all just as goofy.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down.
Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another Fall Obsession Podcast episode, driven by friends over at Ridge Rock Hunt Company. Talk about them in our sponsor segment at the end. Once again, I'm Sam with Fall Obsession, your podcast host. Thank you for listening, watching on YouTube, however you guys might be tuning in. Back on here again in person for the second week's episode consecutive with our Midwestern Regional Staff Coordinator, Todd Sellon. Welcome back, Todd.
It's always good to be here, Sam. I just feel blessed to be here in person, and it always amazes me. We talk about Fall Obsession, the family atmosphere we have, and same thing is true. It amazes me in that when we meet a person for the first time, I met you at the airport a couple of days ago, and man, it was, again, I mentioned this before, hugs all around, like we've always been brothers, and we've always hung out with each other, and it just amazes me the connection we have within Fall Obsession. And so,
Yeah, well, it's really cool, and you flew down here. We recorded a podcast with Heather, and we talked about this a little bit in last week's podcast, but we recorded a podcast with Heather, episode 112, I believe, talking about her journey as a hunter and then y'all's lives up there in Michigan and all the stuff you guys got going on. Want to do the same with you.
Yeah, for sure.
That turned into, and we told the story last week, but that turned into you being like, hey, why don't I just fly down there? And us recording in person, stacked a hog hunt up on top of that, and here we are recording in person.
Here we are. So as a teacher, we're fortunate to have time off. My wife, our family's busy in general, just with the different things. My wife stays busy. She's employed by the Michigan DNR during the summer as a activity coordinator for a local state park, and we're also busy with our girls who race IBRA. They do barrel racing, and so they have a show actually today. They had one Sunday, they have one today, they got one Saturday, they got one Sunday, and that's how our weeks go. So we're busy, but as teachers, we're also very fortunate to have time off in the summertime to be able just to pick up and go, and we're that sort of family. We're very spontaneous, and so, well, Sam, actually, I think I mentioned it to you. You were going out with a field staffer, a pro staffer, Andy Meeks. You're going out for dinner, and when I talked to you on the phone, and you said, well, this was right after Heather's.
Same day we recorded with
podcast.
Heather. Yeah.
He goes, Heather promised me not to say this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm going out with dinner with Andy tonight. I go, you know what? I'm going to the airport right now. I'll meet you down there in a few hours.
That's what she was worried about, yeah. But no, it's awesome. I'm glad we got to experience the hog hunt together, and spend a couple hunts out in the Texas heat. Knocking down some pigs. If you haven't listened to last week's podcast and talking about that hog hunt and everything, go back an episode, listen to that one where we talk about that hog hunt and everything, and your experience hunting pigs down here. It was a really fun time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and glad that we had a successful trip out of the mix. But for this episode, kind of what we want to do is piggyback off of Heather's podcast.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, no piggyback hog hunting, no pun intended. But
just not the one we harvested, because
yeah,
it might not go very far.
But anyway, to kind of team up with that episode and talk about some of the stuff that you guys have going on up there, and not only that, but you're juggling hunting with your busy schedules. I'm looking forward to the conversation because ever since you got down here, and then yesterday you listened to Heather's podcast here with us.
Yep.
Ever since you've been here, it's been like, Well, what she didn't tell you was,
Yeah.
let me add
me
that,
expand
or
on that.
there was more to that story, So, and then you've been telling me you've been watching the views and the download numbers on her podcast, and and I'm sure you'll mention it. Everything's a competition for y'all, and so,
We are very competitive people. Both my wife and I participated in college athletics. She was a track and field. She ran hurdles in college, and I was a baseball player in college. Played outfield and did a little bit of catching as well. And we're just competitive people by nature. And that, to be a college athlete, you have to be competitive, just because you're constantly fighting for a position, you're constantly fighting for a job, and of course you always want to win games. You hate to lose, and that's kind of trickled down to our coaching as well. You want to do the best you can and really develop those athletes, but the bottom line is you want to win games. You know what I mean? And so we're both very competitive. That's also we see that in our daughters as well. It's really, really funny. My youngest on Sunday ran barrels for the first time independently, full speed, ran a 21. My oldest, who has been running for years, struggled just a touch with her form and that sort of thing, and then ran a 20. My youngest was upset that she didn't beat my oldest. My oldest was upset that she didn't beat my youngest by more. So that was kind of funny. And then, so that characteristic has really kind of shown itself in our daughters as well. At breakfast this morning, I was showing Sam Tex about Heather and trying to get as many people as they can to watch her podcast, because she has to beat my views. And Heather, I'm coming for you. Coming for you. It's on. So
you got a couple episodes now online, so I'm sure she'll be asking me, hey, when can we do another one?
Yeah.
Because you got 2 episodes now.
Yep.
But so again, you've been on the podcast before, not just last week, but we mentioned it in our last podcast about the Midwestern High crew out there after that Missouri hunt, and the 97, 98 episodes that you recorded with us, and that was y'all's first time to be on the podcast. Really good crew that you have out there, and a really awesome dynamic, I think, that is maturing in the Midwestern region right there with the staffers that you have. So
it's so awesome, and you've mentioned to me, Sam, that you're doing a good job as a field coordinator, and I say to Sam all the time, it's really not me, it's the people. It's the people that make the group.
Exactly.
And we're fortunate enough in the Midwest to have a group of people that share the same vision, that have the same passion, and really have the same personalities. We're all just as goofy. We have a texting thread that we go and just put random stuff on and just crack each other up, because part of my philosophy, part of our family's philosophy is you need to make people laugh. You know what I mean? Life in itself is very stressful. Why allow yourself to get consumed in that stress? Why not laugh every day? If certainly we have our struggles, we have our obstacles that we have to overcome, and if you can find a little humor in those obstacles and in that stress in life, man, that makes life much more enjoyable. And like I said, if you see somebody having a bad day and they take it out on you, there's still opportunities to make them laugh and make their day a little brighter. So that's just kind of our thing. And the other thing that we really try to do as a family, as a Sellon family, is we understand the value in people. We understand that people are appreciated. People bring attributes to any situation, regardless of who they are, regardless of where they're from, regardless of their background. People all have value, and you need to celebrate those values that people bring to situations, and that's really guided us in our life, really. Because we understand that people have value, we have really put other people's needs before ours more often than not. And
Right.
and that's kind of a philosophy as a teacher in general. You're always helping other people, whether it's a student, whether it's a parent in the community, whether it's just a random stranger. You just have that thing instilled in you, that characteristic instilled in you, that you want to give and you want to serve people, because that's what we really are. We're servants of our community. We're servants of our land, and we try to do it with as much humor as we can.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, that crew undoubtedly helps with that humor for sure. It's a good group. I enjoyed the couple podcasts I got to record with that group, and yeah, y'all are killing it.
Yeah.
It's good stuff up there.
So one thing I really try to do is just to show how much we appreciate them in the Midwest, and not only in Midwest, but geez, I've been in communication with Charmaine out in Canada, who just had a baby. Congratulations. And people from other regions, just because again, we're all part of one big family, the human family, the human race, and you got to show people you value them and appreciate them. And build those relationships, and I think we've been able to do that, particularly in the Midwest, because those are the people I've had most contact with. And so.
Well, and yeah, it definitely helps to have a tighter group in that y'all are closer together, because y'all were able to do that snow goose hunt, and even that was cool to like from my perspective, I knew you guys were talking and coordinating, and obviously the hunt came up and you had people who were interested, but it's really after that event. You yourself, you said how cool it was that you get out there and camp and everybody's just like each other. It's you're just picking up where you left off, basically. And then to see that bond continue to go beyond that, you told me pretty soon after that hunt, you're like, Sam, we text every day. The group literally texts every day. I'm like, that's freaking awesome.
And we still do.
Yeah.
We're talking, this was back in March. Yeah, we left on a Sunday. Monday, we created a texting thread, and we actually even expanded upon it as people. We included you originally. Originally, it was just the people that went to the goose hunt, and then we started including other people, and it's still a daily thing. It's still a daily thing. It's not, sometimes it's not with a whole group. Sometimes it's one or two people in that thread that are going back and forth. But yeah, it's still a daily thing. It's awesome.
Yeah, and to see more events come from that, you got the bow fishing trip coming up next week. Another fishing trip with Tyler coming up after that.
In
just
Missouri.
more and more events starting to transpire. Even right now, when it's summertime and there's very little hunting seasons going on. You have stuff like down here in Texas has plenty of opportunities, and there's random other things here and there, but it's the downtime in between hunting seasons and everything, and yet there's still stuff going on and chances for folks to get together. It's really awesome to see. So.
Absolutely. We've been able, like you said, to get the bow fishing. A week from tomorrow, we're heading to southern Indiana with Delaney Pfeiffer, who's hosting a bow fishing excursion. And then in August, a couple weeks after that, we're going to southern Missouri with Tyler. December, we have a sandhill crane hunt back here in Texas in Lubbock. And then next March, again, we're going back to Missouri for our snow goose hunt. We also have in the works a black bear hunt in North Carolina we're working on right now.
So all these events and everything, and to kind of talk a little bit more specifically about Fall Obsession and the not just the staff coordinator role, but then how that plays into the greater equation. We brought this role on board. Was it late last year, early this year?
It was after Tim's pheasant hunt. So that was another excursion. We had talked about best ideas come from camps. And my first camp involved with Fall Obsession was Tim Burgess out in Colorado hosted a pheasant hunt for the staffers. And it was myself, Tim, Drew Tordick, our admin from Minnesota, and then Andy Meeks. I think it was the four of us.
Yeah, it was four.
Yeah, we went up there and spent a weekend, pheasant hunting, and that's really where we started developing that bond. That's where I started developing the bond with other staffers. It's the first time I really met staffers in person, and so, and that's where a lot of the ideas that I started thinking of. That's where we started developing these ideas, and I think I called you the day I got back and said, Sam, listen, what if we did this and this and this and this and this, and that's where the staff coordinator idea kind of came up. So
yeah, and it was a process getting to that point from there, trying to figure out how it would all work and everything, and it's still evolving and figuring out the best, the intricacies of it and everything. But basically we didn't divide our staff. We laid out 5 regions in the United States that Fall Obsession would recognize as far as location where our folks are, and then we are doing our best to try and have a designated point of contact, a designated coordinator like yourself
Yep.
in each of those regions. Some regions still have vacancies in that role right now, either
Mm-hmm.
because there's only a few staffers there, or just you know more than anybody, it's a voluntary position at
Yep.
the moment.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
some folks just don't have the time to give to it, and that's completely understandable. But trying to have somebody like that who can start to put stuff together, because you lit a fire out there initially, you had to get it going, but I feel like even you could probably attest to how much you still do a lot of work, but after you get those groups together, after you get those people interacting with each other, it starts taking care of itself in some aspects of it.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And I mentioned to Sam just before we started recording that our personalities as teachers, my wife, Heather and I, our personality is just to absorb as much knowledge about everything as we possibly can. That's why we became teachers. It takes a lot of having understanding and being educated, and that's just kind of what we do. We just gather as much information as we can, and then our why in life is to share that information with other peoples and watch them develop their own philosophies, watch them develop their own techniques, and learning from what we share with them. And that's kind of what I did going into this coordinator role, is just say, hey, here's my ideas, here's my thoughts, here's what I think, here's what I've learned. Run with it. Like you said, it pretty much runs its own self.
Right.
And the people in the Midwest region, because we all share the same vision and have the same personalities, it's easy to get feedback. It's easy to get content from them. So,
Yeah,
And we're
exactly.
fortunate that we have, a larger number. I think we have 12 staffers in that region right now.
Right.
So, we have a lot of resources to pull from. So.
Exactly. And you're not the only coordinator on board either. Tim Burgess from Colorado, he's been on our podcast before also.
Who does a phenomenal job out in the
Yes,
West.
he does a phenomenal job. His group out there in the West that he has kind of under his umbrella is smaller. So that I know that's probably more of a challenge for him, to get more
for
people together and try to do that kind of stuff. But my hope is that we can get more people out west on his end of everything, and we can start to see that kind of same growth and everything we've seen in the Midwest coming from the western region out there, and then eventually all the other regions. It's going to be awesome to be able to hopefully see this kind of family aspect growing in every region. And on that note too, I wanted to take the opportunity. We haven't really publicly advertised it because we still have some folks that were waitlisted from when we had a limited number of roster spots, or just the people who have organically inquired. But I did want to take the opportunity to tell other folks how they can become a Fall Obsession staffer, because we do want to grow this family. We do want, you mentioned about how it's awesome to have 12 folks in your region.
Yep.
We'd love to see more, because I mean, every event that we do, whether it's in the Midwest or in the West and the South, whatever it might be, we know that not everybody is going to get to go to that. We want as many people as possible, whether they're local to that region or from other places, to be able to come in and attend. But we know not everybody's going to be able to go.
Sure.
But the more the merrier, man.
Yeah.
This like you mentioned, this is a family.
And that's how you really get to know the person, is when you meet them. I mean, and prior to attending Tim's pheasant hunt, again, which was my first in-person experience with Fall Obsession, everything was texting, everything was emailing. I don't even know if we had Zoom meetings. We didn't have any virtual meetings.
We didn't have
back then.
virtual meetings at the time.
That kind of came with COVID, but which again, that shows the growth that we've made over the years, and we continue to grow, and so that added that element of in person, but still, it wasn't like meeting somebody face to face. And when you meet somebody in person, it's a total different atmosphere, and we get so many ideas, and you get that connection, you feel that brother and sisterhood, and you feel that family connection, and it's just a great thing to be a part of. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for our listeners or viewers, for any who might be interested in joining Fall Obsession, wherever you might be in the United States or Canada, you can go to fallobsession.com/staff-opportunities, or if you just go to fallobsession.com/staff, there's also a button there that'll take you to the opportunities page. And basically on that page, we have laid out kind of an overview of how our program functions, because it's not just being able to interact with folks in person stuff. We want content creators also
Yep.
to be
Yep.
to be a part. We want all these family members to be generating content relevant to their regions, contributing those to Fall Obsession. So when you join, we want you to send in content relevant to your outdoor and hunting adventures and everything. And we set it up every month on a monthly basis to be like, hey, this is kind of what we're looking for this month in the content world, to give you guys ideas, especially during the summertime. It's important, I feel like, to give folks, ideas, because
Sure.
it can be hard sometimes to think of, well, what am I going to do if there's no hunting season, or I'm not fishing, or whatever the deal might be. So we try to set it up for folks, but then as you send stuff in, you build up points. We have monthly rewards for different types of content things. So it used to be structured to where just you'd have to build up so many points before you earn a reward. Now we've kind of structured our rewards based on content quality, frequency, and
Right.
performance.
Right. Because we're growing.
Yeah, so
We're
it's
growing.
basically a first month staffer has the same opportunity to win a monthly award as you.
Yeah,
for
sure.
example,
For sure.
So
And Sam and I were talking about, when I first became a staffer and how it's evolved since that time. And I remember when I first became a staffer, you could take a picture of anything in the outdoors, send it, and it was okay, it's accepted, it's posted, But now, again, our standards have changed a little because we're growing, because we're evolving, and becoming more known. And so we have to look for that quality, and we have to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always stuff every month that gets bounced back, and that's part of it. But again, like Todd said, what we are as Fall Obsession, we are trying to create a level of hunting and outdoor media that reflects the same quality that you see from some of these big name companies or big name pages in the social media world. But at the same time, it's relevant to blue collar outdoorsmen,
for sure.
because that's what we are as well.
For sure.
We're trying to produce that same quality of content from locations that you guys are familiar with, that's relevant to you, and information that is right up your alley.
Yeah,
So
for
that's
sure.
what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
So-
this isn't our sole employment.
No.
We both have jobs, and
Yeah, no, I mean, Todd and I can both tell you, nobody here has seen a paycheck from Fall Obsession, including myself. I mean, one day I would love to be able to see our admin core, our managers, even our coordinators, depending on how the company grows, be able to, even if, a part-time income or something like that would be great from Fall Obsession.
Sure.
But, we have to build to that point, and that's not the goal. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this because, man, I gotta turn this into a source of income for my family. Like, that's not why I do this. If that was why I do this, I would have
Right.
quit a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure. It's sharing our passion with other people.
Exactly.
And finding others around the United States who have the same goals and have the same visions, and then it provides more opportunities. I've never gone on a snow goose hunt before until we went to Missouri. I've never gone bow fishing. We're going in a week from now. I've never hunted hogs out in Texas. I did
Yeah.
that the last couple of days, and so it just provides those opportunities for you to expand your network and really get to know people from different regions in the United States and Canada and so on.
Yeah, exactly. Excellent. Well, I'd like to steer a conversation a little bit more toward you guys up there in Michigan, because as we've gotten to talk over the past couple days and gotten to know each other even more than we already did, y'all have a very interesting life up there. Yeah, I mean, you truly do with all the stuff you have going on, and on top of that, you have a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot
Y'all
of
are
stuff
very
going on.
busy.
Very busy.
And I know Heather talked a little bit about that in episode 112 with her, but I wanted to kind of, like I said, build upon that and hear some of from your perspective what you guys have going on, some of your hunting stories from up there.
Sure.
And just to start, tell us a little bit about just where you live up there in
So
Michigan and the place that you have.
So we live in western Michigan. It's called Coopersville, Michigan. It's about 20 minutes west of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Grand Rapids is the second largest city in Michigan. I don't know the exact population number, but I do know it's the second largest. And we live about 10 minutes away from the Lake Michigan shoreline. So during this time of year, for example, we focus a lot on fishing. That's what we do up in Michigan in particular. Heather and I live in a farming community. It's a rural farming community where It's common to see cornfields. It's common to smell cow manure during certain times of the year, and
Yeah.
it's just, that's just what it is. And we live on really a hobby farm. We have 11 horses, 30 chickens. We have cats, dogs. We got a goat. We got a cow. So, and we're not trying to make income, but we're just trying to be self-sustaining. And we know we go out and gather eggs every morning to have for breakfast, or sometimes we eat them for dinner as well. We have a cow. We ride the horses, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of, we're farmers in a farming community.
Yeah.
We're hobby farmers in a farming community. On top of running the farm, both Heather and I are teachers, and so. A lot of people, you hear this all the time, teachers have the easiest job in the world because they have certain times off. It's not easy, because even during our times off, we're still planning. We're still thinking of ideas and ways of challenging our students to become better at what they do, and to gain knowledge, and prepare them for life in general. And geez, yesterday, one of the things I was doing when we were on stand with the hog hunt, I was texting people, or I was answering emails from school. We're off school, but we're still answering emails
Right.
from school. In fact, it was funny because my principal was part of the email chain, and we got a response back saying, "I am not in the office," the automated response. "I'm on vacation. I will respond to this when I get back." I'm like, "Yep, I'm on vacation too," and I'm
I'm sending the emails.
I'm out in the Texas mesquite sending emails. So that's kind of funny. So yeah, we're constantly busy with that, and in addition to teaching, running the farm, we're both coaches. My wife has been a track and basketball coach for about 15 to 20 years. I just told Sam, if I come back and coach this winter, this will be my 30th year of coaching high school athletics, and I've pretty much ran the gamut. I've coached basketball, I've coached baseball, I've coached football, I'm currently coaching bowling. So you look at the variety that's involved there, and it's not saying that he's totally passionate about one sport. No, it's the fact that I get to share my knowledge with these kids on what this particular sport is, on how that relates to life in general, and how you can overcome obstacles within this sport, because you're gonna have obstacles in life. How do you deal with those challenges? And then how do you deal with it strategically? Because a lot of sports are strategic. How do you get that leg up or that step up on your opponent to make sure that in the end you beat them?
Right.
And really in life, when these challenges evolve and come about, how do you beat that challenge to come out? And one thing that one philosophy we have in our family is that it doesn't matter how great the challenge is. Really doesn't matter the outcome. Everything's going to work itself out.
Yeah.
It's just going to work itself out. It just does. It just seems to. And even when it doesn't seem like it works itself out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had that conversation with Delaney, actually. We had an incident with the bow fishing trip where, unfortunately, Drake, our guide who originally committed, had a medical incident where he had to back out, rightfully so. I mean, he definitely, his focus should be on his family and not on help
Right. Yeah.
providing that opportunity to us. And so we're thinking of you, Drake. We're thinking of you. So she called me in a panic saying, "Hey, in a week we got the bow fishing. We need some boats. Can you bring your boat?" And I remember I said to Delaney, I go, "Listen, Delaney, relax. It's gonna work. It's
Yeah.
gonna work out. We'll figure out a way to help you out." And so it did. It ended up working itself out. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we teach, we coach, run the farm, and coaching involves, again, her off season is in the fall, but she's still involved with cross country because of the track coach. She's always out there supporting her athletes who are running track and field or who are running cross. And then, of course, they have preseason workouts for basketball, and basketball seems to have evolved in a year-round sport now.
Yeah.
I mean, they're doing preseason workouts in the summer. They go to different camps, and then she goes around and does different camps and that sort of thing. I just made a comment to Sam earlier today. I start school actually the week of August 15th, and when I get back to school, I am now a registered football official in the state of Michigan. And so really football season starts when we get back. So when I get back, I'll have games Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and some on Saturdays. So I basically get Saturday, Monday, and Tuesday off. Well, I take that back. There's some of the junior high games I have this year scheduled for Tuesday. So really, it's Tuesday through Saturday.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'll go to the school and teach from 7:30 to 2:30. Go from teaching to wherever the game site is, or wherever we're going to meet as a crew, and then we drive up to the game and do the game. And if it's a varsity game, a lot of times I won't get home till 11:30 at night.
Wow.
So I'll leave my house at 6:30 and get home at 11:30 at night. So, and that's very common. That's how we've always lived.
Yeah.
Heather and I, from the minute we met, the second we met, we actually met her through coaching. I had her brother on my team, and so I had her brother on my team. I remember, so I'll tell you the little story. It may seem a little sappy, but I had her brother on the team, and after one of our first couple games, one of the assistant coaches on the varsity, I was a JV baseball coach at the time, he was asking me about the game. I go, yeah, but there was this hot blonde in the stand. And this coach said, was it Merge's sister? I said, yes, it was. He goes, dude, I think she's available too.
And the rest is history.
Well, kind of.
Okay.
So that was at the beginning of the season. At the end of the season, Heather had the psychology class, and this is the year that I graduated college, and I graduated with a psychology degree. So Heather's mom and Ryan, her brother, their mom was my team parent. So you're always communicating with the team parent on who's going to provide the food for doubleheaders and when our bus schedule is, because they would send out emails and so on, whether there's weather impacting our, if a game's still on, if it's canceled, so on and so forth. If we have any adjustments with our practice schedule. So she was the connection we made between what we're doing at the school versus with the parents in the community and that sort of thing. And so Heather's mom came up to me just before the last game and said, Heather has this psychology class. She has to do a field experience, but she can't make it. Would it be okay if I filmed your baseball games? Yeah, absolutely. So, and that was back in the day where you wouldn't have these you had these big old VHS filmer things. So she filmed the video, and afterwards, she came up, thanked me, and said, "Oh, thank you so much. I'll get this to Heather." I said, "Okay, cool." A week later, we had a banquet. Heather's mom came up again and said, "Hey, she really appreciated I got that film to her, and so she wanted me to give you this." She hands me a piece of paper, so I took it, put it in my pocket. So, okay, thanks, I'll read it later. And then we went and went out to a local bar afterwards, the coaching staff and I was telling the coaches, yeah, Heather's mom handed me a piece of paper. Like, dude, what does it say? What does it say? I don't know. So I pulled it out and said, Todd, thank you so much for allowing me to do this. Here's my phone number. Here's my email if you need to contact me.
There you go.
Then the rest was history.
Then the rest is history. I got you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So so it was funny. So at any rate, so anyway, we're busy with all that stuff, coaching, teaching. In the summer, early on in our career, we both, financially, we needed to develop funds. So we both still worked throughout the summer, even though we had summer off. We still had jobs because we had to still afford. Teaching is certainly a noble profession, and it's a good profession, but it takes a while for you to feel comfortable financially,
Right.
To be able to live life and afford the things that you really want to afford. So it's very rewarding, but oftentimes teachers have to take those extra steps just to be able to afford the life they want to live.
Right.
And so that's what we both worked part-time jobs in the summertime. Heather continues to still do that and works through the Michigan DNR as an activity coordinator now. Originally, she was hired as a Piper plover steward, and Piper plovers are endangered birds. So she would sit on the beach and make sure nobody messed with their nests, basically, until they migrated back out of the area. And so she continues to do that. She's the ultimate conservationist. She's the ultimate sportswoman. She loves being involved in nature. And I think I mentioned this to you yesterday while we were sitting around here. There are hummingbirds all around the feeder.
Yeah.
I said, man, if Heather was here and she saw that hummingbird, she would run for her camera, and we wouldn't see her the rest of the night. She would be chasing birds around, and then she'd come across the flower and take pictures of the flower, and then she would just that's just Heather in nature. And man, she's so supportive of, and that's the connection we have. She knew that I was a coach. She knew that I was busy. in turn, I realized how busy she was, and we just had that connection, and that's, we've known each other, we've dated each other, we've been a part of each other's life for 20 years now, and married 18 years, and we continue to share our passion with each other, and really at first, I know as a young couple, we didn't understand fully what that involves. I wanted Heather to be a part of hunting. I wanted Heather to be out with me with every excursion, because I thought, I've always been a part of outdoors. I know Heather loves being outdoors. Why didn't she want to always go out with me? I didn't understand the fact that she was nervous because in her mind, can I live up to his expectations being out in the woods? I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And once I did realize the fact that she was a little nervous, then my thought became, well, I have to help her understand what it's like being out here. I have to share my knowledge of the outdoors and to watch her evolve. And like I said, I listened to that podcast and I was just so filled with pride. I was so proud of her just to see how confident she now is as an outdoors person. And I would feel in the beginning, it was when she would go out, I always had to sit with her. So there were times I'm like, Heather, the deer are over there, but we can't sit there together because we have a double here, so we have to sit in a double if I'm with you, if we spread. Now it's, hey, Todd, I'm going to this stand. Where are you going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so just to see that, I'm just so proud of her, and she's so supportive and such a great mom, and really does a good job balancing our family life with our professional life with everything else. And she's a great partner because she's so supportive and helping me do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you said, we're just so busy, and now I've kind of backed off from working in the summertime. Heather still does that through the Michigan DNR, and my focus now is helping our girls learn parts of life. So I guess my thought is we spend more time on the farm in the summertime now, and the girls are a big part of that now. Sam, I had this conversation yesterday about getting animals. And when we started our farm, I think our daughter was maybe 3 years old. Our oldest daughter, Tala, she was 3 years old. We had an opportunity to get a mini horse. A miniature is about yay big, and it was given to us for free. And we thought, we've always go to these carnivals. They have the pony ride. How cool would it be to have a pony on the farm that we can teach Tala how to ride on, and we can also teach her responsibility.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to care for this animal, so we can teach her this responsibility. And so we hired a trainer, Miss Becky, who is currently recovering from an accident. So our thoughts are with you, Miss Becky. And so just a great person that really, she taught Tala how to ride. She taught me how to ride. She taught Heather how to ride, because Heather and I ended up getting jealous about the fact that our daughter has a horse and we have nothing. Let's get a horse of our own. So that's what we did. And then we had an accident with that horse. And then from that, we realized very quickly how much we love horses and we love that life. And so our farm just expanded. Yeah. Went from one mini to 11 horses with the farm and chickens and everything else. So
wow.
Yeah. So that keeps us busy. And so our girls have really developed into what we were hoping, what our vision, what our goal was. They understand the responsibilities. They wake up every morning. They go out and do the chores. They come in and do the chores in the house before they actually have fun. And often we don't even turn the TV on because we're busy doing stuff like that and taking our responsibilities. So if you want to sum up a day in the life of Sellon, it's going to be busy.
Yeah.
It's going to be busy. Sam made a comment to me yesterday. Hey, dude, if you want to take a nap, because we were up and we were working hard from very early. Yeah. The last couple of days. And I go, Sam, I never take naps. I'll sit down. I might get a little tired, but I never take naps because there's so much going on. And so, we're busy. We're very goal oriented, and we have a vision. And like I said, I made the comment earlier. We value others, and we value them to the point where, we put their interests over ours more often than not. And that's just kind of the characteristic we have, and that's why we're in the profession that we have. Yeah. And that's our why, watching those people develop from the knowledge that we share with them, and certainly with our girls. We're so proud of them and what they do and who they become, and watching them share what they know about riding horses and farm life in general. And my oldest daughter, oh my goodness, If I harvest a deer, if I don't let her gut the deer, she throws an absolute temper tantrum. And it's fun to watch. Last year, for example, I had both my girls out. Heather, I tried to get all of us out, and I was going to take one of the girls. Heather was going to take one of the girls. Heather had something going on. I think it was a basketball event she had going on. So I just said, fine, I'll take both girls out. So I took both the girls out, and we sat in the shadow hunter that I was showing you.
Yeah.
And I was able to shoot a doe that night, harvest a doe that night. And I had a buddy on property too, hunting, and he came up and said, hey, I heard you shoot. Did you get one? Yep, shot a doe. Here it is. I go, I got it out real quick. We'll get up to the house, and my daughter, oh my goodness, you're not gonna gut that. I want to do it. I'm like, fine. And so this buddy is also a teacher. He teaches in the same school as Heather. Originally Heather, so I'll get to that story later. But teaches in the same school as Heather, and he just said, yeah, Tyler, I want to see you gut it. I'm like, fine. So she gutted it out and said, hey, this is the heart, this is the lungs, this is the liver, and so on and so forth. Her goal is to be a veterinarian, so it's kind of cool to see that.
Good for her.
So.
That's awesome. So, teaching, coaching, farm, 2 kids, as if that's not already busy enough. What drives you to hunt?
What drives me to hunt? The big thing that originally what drove me to hunt was just the adrenaline rush. Again, having just that personality that allowed me to compete collegiately. I love the adrenaline rush. I love the adrenaline rush of being successful in a sport. I love the adrenaline rush of harvesting an animal. But over the years, it's evolved from just that simple adrenaline rush, being competitive with nature. I mentioned it's a cat and mouse game. I tell people all the time, you're playing chess with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You really are. You're trying to figure out where the pieces go to be successful. And if you win that game, that's great. If you don't, well, you try to figure out your strategy. And well, the hog hunt the other day, where that hog, we didn't harvest him, and so that night I'm thinking, what can we do? What can we do differently? What could I have done differently? But beyond that, it's being a steward of the land and sharing my knowledge with others. I showed you pictures. So on Wednesdays, every Wednesday, so tonight actually, they have youth archery. And so I work with a great group of guys out of the Coopersville Sportsman's Club, and we offer youth archery in Coopersville. And last week we had 21 kids. I think our youngest was like 6 years old, something like that. So they come out and we teach them how to shoot bows.
Yeah.
And so you're sharing that knowledge. You're sharing that passion of the outdoors with the younger generation and just with other people in general. And that's a big part of Fall Obsession. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sharing that passion with other people. And so that's what drives me to be an outdoorsman, being competitive with Mother Nature, being a steward of the land, sharing your knowledge with others, developing the younger generation, because this is something that should always be. If hunting just went away, could you imagine what would happen to our environment? Could you imagine what would happen to our food crops? Could you imagine what would happen to our food supply? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would just.
Yeah, I mean, when you and I talked about it last night, hunters being the true conservationists and everything, which that in itself is a great conversation that'll be in our couch chat that will be on our YouTube channel. But you're spot on. None of this would be the case if it wasn't for just that. So.
Well, then the other thing that drives me is that when Heather got involved, I just love spending that time out in the woods with her. I love spending the time out in the woods with the kids and just showing them different things. And again, I keep beating a dead horse here, but just seeing the confidence that she's built and see who she's become as an outdoors person, and it makes me very proud, And so.
Awesome.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, man, I really appreciate you sharing your story, your passion, your life on here, and not just that, but you and Heather both, and all that you guys do for Fall Obsession and the Fall Obsession family. It's awesome to have folks like you on board, and guys that'll just pack up and fly down to Texas,
for sure,
on a whim. So
for sure. we're very spontaneous. Like I said, we're very busy. We're very goal driven. We're very we put other people before us, but at the same time we're very spontaneous. And I think back to the Snoop Dogg commercial, the best plans are no plans at all, and that's kind of how we live life. So if things come up, we can just drop everything and go. and that's kind of what we do, I do have to tell you the story of how Heather actually got involved in hunting too, because we were kind of talking about it last night. And so, early on in our relationship, we moved out to the farm. It's been in her family for over 100 years. We now live where her grandparents used to live. And so when Grandma got sick and they moved her into a nursing home, they asked Heather, "Hey, do you want to take over the farm? You're the eldest grandchild. You have the first opportunity." She said, "Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that." So she and I moved in and took over the farm. And so prior to that, I was, I hunted quite a bit, but being a collegiate athlete, being a college student, so again, the busyness has rung true my entire life. At one point, college student, college athlete, outdoorsman. I was a coach. That's when I got into coaching. First got into coaching, so I was a coach.
Yeah.
And then I had to have a part-time job because as a college athlete, you still have bills.
Yep.
But you aren't allowed to work. You work often. You aren't allowed to bring in money because it's with the NCAA rules and stuff like that. So I still had a part-time job so I did all that stuff. And telling people have always asked, you've asked several times, how do you do it? Well, you find your passion and you make it work.
Yeah.
You just make it work. You just do. You prioritize things and make it work. If you really are passionate about something, and you're going to make it work. I tell kids all the time who want to get into coaching, what's your secret? What do you have to do? I'm like, you got to make it work.
Yeah.
You have to make it work. So going back to the story of, and Heather was never really, so when we moved into the property, first thing I realized right away is there's a lot of animals on this property. There's a lot of, compared to what I'm used to, hunting public land. If you go out, if you see one deer, you're lucky. Going to my parents' backyard, again, you see a deer the whole season, you're lucky. You know what I mean?
Right.
You see deer every single time you go out, And so I was going to go out one night, and Heather's like, "I want to go out with you." And this is during bow season. And I said, "Sure, you want to? Yeah, absolutely, let's go out." At that time, I had one tree stand set up, and it was set up on the edge of a cornfield, and the tree branched off kind of like that, and at the base there was a V, and that V you could just set a chair in, and you can just look through into the field. And I said to Heather, I go, "I can bring you out to my tree stand, but we got to bring a chair. We'll put you in the V, and you can watch out through the field, and then I'll climb up, and we'll do the hunt." And obviously she didn't have a bow, she didn't have a weapon, she didn't even have her hunter safety shirt at that time. So I get up in the tree stand. As the night progressed, a group of deer came out across the field about 300 yards away, and I can see they're all does, and we shoot does for meat, and so I'm trying to get Heather's attention. I'm doing the psh, psh, Heather, psh, but still trying to be quiet at the same time. So then I just start picking bark and throwing it down at her, hitting her in the head, and she finally looks up at me and she's like, "Stop it!" I'm like, "Deer." Because I knew she was positioned in a way that she couldn't see them. One of the trees were blocking her view, so I didn't want her to all of a sudden peek around the tree and then spook the deer off.
Right.
So I was trying to get her attention and say, "Hey, sit still, there's deer coming." So sure enough, they came right to us, 15 yards away, the whole group, and I ended up getting a shot at the biggest doe. And Heather did exactly what I told her prior. If a deer comes close, you just got to be really still, don't make any noise, and she did exactly what I told her, and I was able to put an arrow through her. And as soon as that doe took off, she jumps up out of her seat and says, "Oh my gosh, I love hunting. I need to get a bow." And so before that deer even fell down, she was yelling and screaming and saying, "I want to be a part of this." And okay, cool. So that Christmas, I ended up buying it. She loves jewelry too, by the way. So I thought it'd be funny that, not really funny, but diamond is a good bow anyway. So I told her I got a diamond for Christmas. So I got her a diamond for Christmas, and unfortunately it didn't fit her. So we took it to our local pro dealership, and he's like, "Yeah, this doesn't fit her." So we ended up fitting her into a Hoyt, and so we got her a Hoyt, and she's been hunting. She enrolled in hunter safety, and so she's been hunting, and she got the bug that one time.
Yeah.
I think I wrote an article, and the first time I got the bug. Yeah. No, I don't think I did. The first time I got the bug was during hunter safety class, which is very similar to the antelope story that I told you. I had somebody telling me I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. I shot an antelope with a bow. I had somebody telling me I would never be able to shoot an antelope with a bow, and I did. Very similar story. Going through hunter safety as a 16-year-old, I remember going to the archery. I was shooting because they do field day and you shoot the different weapons and that sort of thing. I remember getting to the archery range and they had a 3D target. I draw back, shoot it, drill it right in the throat, right in the neck, and that's right where I aimed. And I had a dad just kind of chuckle, "You're never gonna do that again." I'm like, "You know what?" Thunk, did it. He's like, "Oh yeah, beginner's luck." I'm like, "You know what?" So I put 3 arrows. I grouped them right in the neck, and it was just so easy for me. And that's where I caught the bug. That's where I caught the bug. Archery's my thing, and so that's kind of where I started. It all started for me, and so just like where it all started for Heather on that field, on that cornfield, and throwing bark at her head and having her upset, but it all worked out.
We all have a story on where the bug bit us, man, and it's so cool to hear different people's perspectives and how it all went down. So very, very cool.
Yep.
Well, so I want to, we're getting toward the end of our time, but before we wrap up this podcast, I got a couple questions to ask you.
Sure, absolutely.
You've been on the podcast before,
Yep.
even last week.
Yep.
I didn't ask. I just forgot to ask him in the last episode, and then, like I told Heather, when we had y'all on with the Midwestern group, I wasn't about to ask these questions to everybody because it would have been a 5-hour podcast episode at that point.
Been a couch chat.
Yeah, exactly. But tell us about your favorite hunting memory.
My favorite. Oh man. So we actually, it's funny you say that because in Goose Camp we were talking about this and we all pretty much agreed. Every memory, every time you go in the field, you make memories, and every memory is a favorite one. You know what I mean? There are just so many to pick from. Some that certainly stick out are the snow goose hunt, because I've never done that. The antelope hunt that I talked to you about, I had a chiropractor telling me that there's no way that you can shoot an antelope with a bow. And again, my own personality is just that I'm going to prove you wrong that I can shoot one with a bow, and I actually did.
Yeah.
Hog hunt. This hog hunt.
Awesome.
It's certainly one of my best memories. And then of course, when I went on my bear hunt up in Ontario, that was a good time too. I actually went up there twice. The first time, actually, I had back surgery 2 days before. And
wow.
Yeah, so I've had some issues with that. But the second time I went up, I was able to harvest a really nice boar up there. And so,
very cool.
Every memory is a great memory. Some stick out more than others, and those are some that really stick out. So I'm looking forward to this bow fishing trip and some of the other excursions that we have coming up too.
Yeah,
so,
many more to come for sure.
Many more, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, the second question, one of my favorites is always, what is your top or at the top somewhere, the top 3 or whatever it might be of your bucket list hunts that you have not gotten to do yet?
That's for me, it's caribou, hands down. Years ago, Ontario, which is the province that surrounds us in Michigan there in Canada, they used to offer caribou hunts, but it got to a point where the herd was starting to become decimated, so they cut it. So we haven't been able to, and back home years ago at the hunting and fishing shows that they would offer, throughout the year, you would see a ton of caribou hunting in Ontario. We haven't seen any in years just because they cut it out. So I've always wanted to caribou hunt, so that's certainly a top of my bucket list. Then of course mule deer hunting. I would love to get out west and do some mule deer hunting, elk hunting, and then moose hunting. We talked about, at dinner last night, we were talking about the best meat. I've heard caribou #1, moose #2. Yeah. And so, I certainly want to get out and try to harvest a moose sometime too. And
awesome.
With a bow, everything's with bow. But
of course, yeah. We're bow hunters.
But I wouldn't be opposed to having my rifle right next to me, one that's sighted in.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I told Heather in 112, because she has a very similar bucket list to you, and then y'all both have a very similar bucket list to me. We're gonna have to team up and
for sure,
and figure all this stuff out eventually, because caribou is my #1 bucket list as well. So
I'm gonna throw Andy Meek's phrase out here and say, "Oh, you betcha."
Oh, you betcha. Yeah, man. He like I told you and Heather, and that's come up that I had dinner with him that one night that when you and I were talking earlier that day, and all this came to fruition and everything, but. Man, it was fun hanging out with him that night, and then we're sitting. We went to this. This is totally irrelevant to hunting, but just this fall obsession family. We went to this kind of steakhouse. It's called I think it's called Prairie House in Louisville, Texas.
Yeah.
And it used to be an old feed mill. Is actually what it was way back in the day, and they converted it into this restaurant. And it was a Friday night. They had live music going on in there, and then they bar and everything. And we sat at a booth just so we could socialize better and everything.
Yeah.
But he's there. We're having a good time. He's Andy. He's loud, and we're seated close to the bar. And throughout the evening, and Andy will chuckle. I keep glancing over at the bar, and all these people keep looking over their shoulders, looking at this freaking Northerner sitting behind him that's being all loud and obnoxious and everything. It was the funniest thing ever.
You can't understand what he's saying with his accent.
I know, plenty of you betchas, and he was saying all these other things, and it's like, man, these people are wondering where you're from.
Right. Yeah, you should have live music. DJ Jazzy Drew. Get his turntables out there and start getting the beats down. So.
Yeah. Andy's a hoot. I really enjoyed hanging out with them. I look forward to next time he's down here. We'll have to get him on a podcast in person. That one might never end. Especially if I had Nick Powell here too.
Jeez.
But. Well, Todd,
Yep.
Thank you again, man. I enjoyed these couple episodes and getting to record with you and everything. It's been fun. I love, like you said at the very beginning, how much I love the in-person podcast, and this is why, man. The conversations just flow. It's awesome.
We always have a good time talking to each other, and even more so when we're in person. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've enjoyed it, and we're. You fly out in the morning, but we're not done yet. We're gonna get off the podcast here in a little bit. We're gonna go to the bow shop and let you experience Cinnamon Creek and our friends over there, and maybe run some arrows through an Elite. We'll see.
Yeah, check out the newest Elite. And so,
shoot that Envision.
Get Heather on an Elite. So
yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, for our listeners, however you guys might be tuning in, whether it's the podcast video or you're listening on your favorite app, thanks for listening. If you have not already on whatever app that is, hit that follow and or subscribe button. That way you guys catch all of our episodes. We post a new episode every single Monday morning. We're also on the Outdoor Call radio app, which Outdoors Dan out there, he does a live show a couple times a week, but he also plays several different shows kind of on a loop different days throughout the week on the app and everything. And our day is Monday, so there'll be a random Fall Obsession podcast episode that plays kind of on a loop throughout the day on Mondays on the app, so make sure you go download that app. He's also does some Facebook Live videos too for you guys, so we're on there. We're also on Waypoint TV, which is a free hunting and outdoor streaming service. Different shows, podcasts, educational series, all sorts of different stuff is on there. So go download Waypoint. It's free. Be sure you hit up Fall Obsession Podcast on there.
And I'm going to throw this in real quick. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So,
for those of you watching and listening, encourage your friends. If you got friends, tell them to get on, because I have to beat Heather in views. That's the goal. We got to beat Heather in views. Come on, here we go.
Todd's been telling me for the last 2 days about how Heather's been trying to get people to download her podcast episode 112 and watch and everything, and so now we're seeing that competitive side that Todd was talking about. So there you go. So yes, but please, whether it's Todd, Heather, or anybody else, encourage your friends to download Fall Obsession Podcast and listen on whatever app. That's why we do this, is for guys and girls like you. So be sure that you do that. All the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we're on all there. Go follow us. We post daily. We're also on YouTube, our YouTube channel. We're rolling out a bunch of new videos. We put our podcasts on there. The podcast videos for every episode are on the YouTube channel. And then we also have other types of media series. The Texas Dirt series, which is one of my personal favorites that's near and dear to my heart. We're filming season 2 of that right now. Todd got to be on the filming end of that thing yesterday on that hog hunt, so that'll be up there soon. And then we also have some other series coming in. You and I talked last podcast about the new Couch Chat series that you kind of inspired and everything. So we filmed the first episode for that. That'll be coming out either before or after this podcast, somewhere in there. So be sure that you go tune into the Couch Chats. We're also working on getting some more guests for our My Obsession series, and I believe Todd and I talked about him joining us on that series as well. So excited to have that. So go subscribe to the YouTube. FallObsession.com is our website. That's our hub. All of our content runs through that website. We literally, through the form of video series, educational articles, wild game recipes, gear reviews, all sorts of different stuff. We have covered hundreds of topics in the hunting and outdoor world from across the country, from staff members like Todd and I talked about earlier that are part of our Fall Obsession family. So be sure that you go to fallobsession.com, explore around, and check out our apparel. Support a small hunting business. We got a bunch of new designs. I say a bunch. We have a few new designs out there, and if you're watching the video, I'm rocking the American Pride t-shirt for this podcast, which I do believe we still have some select sizes in that in stock. It's only like $7 for the shirt, so go pick it up. And we do a $10 deal of the week as well, where we select a new apparel item every week, mark it down to $10, sell it at $10 for a week to kind of give you guys the opportunity to get some new apparel in your hands with the rising cost in today's world and everything.
And if you guys do know a field staffer or pro staffer, a staff member from Fall Obsession, hit them up, because we got discount codes not only on all the apparel that's already on sale. I don't know, do they get a discount on the $10 off ones, or?
It should knock down shipping a little bit for them at least.
There you
If we have products that are already marked down a little bit, sometimes discounts won't stack up on top of an already heavily marked down product like that, but it should at least help folks out with shipping. So
yeah, but for sure, hit them up. You get a discount.
yeah, like Todd said, all of our staffers have that unique code. You not only save yourself a few dollars, but you also help out your buddy who's a staffer, help them out with kind of climbing in some of our point systems and everything on their end. So for sure, hit them up. Ridge Rock Hunt Company, they are our podcast partner and sponsor. Derek and Lacey over there in Mississippi, they book hunts. They run a company that has a network of vetted and trusted outfitters that they will set you up with depending on what you want to hunt, where you want to hunt, and how much you have to spend. Even if whatever you're looking for is kind of out of your price range right now, Derek will even work with you on a plan for future seasons to try and set something up in 2023 or 2024 where you can afford it. You can get a tag if it's a lottery draw or something like that. He'll help you figure all that out. So hit up Ridge Rock Hunt Company, hit up Derek, and they'll help get you all fixed up on there. So. Yep. Well, Todd, thanks again, man. It was fun sitting down and knocking out some podcasts with you. And yeah, I'm excited to go to the bow shop next. And,
here we go.
See what all that has to
see what Cinnamon
offer.
Creek's like. And
yeah,
always a great time talking to Sam. Always. So
yeah, well, we'll do it again for sure. And like I said, I know a bunch of content will come. Pretty good stuff will come out of that camp from the fishing trip you got coming up here.
So our goal next is to get you at one of these camps.
I know. I got to make it to one, so I'm working on the green light for that crane hunt, and it's sounding like it might be promising for me. So we'll see what we can do.
For sure.
So, but
for sure.
All right, guys. Thank you all for listening to another Fall Obsession podcast. We're back again next Monday morning for another one, and we will catch you then.
Stay obsessed.